In this video, I lay out a plan for converting William Street and Beaufort Street in Perth City back to one-way traffic, with 24/7 bus priority instead of a crappy peak-hour bus lane which gets parked in by idiots. To recap, from the 70s to the early 2000s, Perth City had two main pairs of one-way streets in operation. But in 2008, the City of Perth under Lisa Scafidi decided to completely ruin the system by spending the next decade doing two-way conversions. The anti-one-way message is hyped up in this 6-page infographic, which is colourful to the eyes but unconvincing to the brain. Its main claims are that 1970s traffic engineers were maniacs who didn't care about pedestrians, two-way streets slow down traffic which makes it safer for pedestrians, and two-way systems are less confusing and reduce circling trips. I know I'm repeating myself from my other videos, but let's take a look at each of these three claims. The first claim is a popular narrative among urban planners, but the traffic engineers of the 1970s were not trying to inconvenience or mow down pedestrians. Because we drive on the left, the fundamental problem of traffic is that vehicles need to turn right, which leads to conflicts with oncoming vehicles. On streets which are just 3 or 4 lanes wide, we either end up with a long line of cars waiting to turn right, or split traffic light phasing with protected right turns, both of which are very inefficient. One-way streets improve traffic flow by eliminating those conflicting movements, and for the same reason the engineers believe that one-way streets would be safer for pedestrians. A pedestrian crossing parallel to a two-way street is competing with 2 turning movements, whereas parallel to a one-way street only 1 turning movement. When crossing the approach leg of a one-way street, there are 0 turning movements to compete with. The second claim is the following argument. Two-way traffic slows cars down, slower collisions are safer, therefore two-way streets are safer. The problem with this argument is what you mean by the word slow. In the first premise, slow means low average speed, which is the total distance travelled divided by the total time taken over the whole journey. This is because in places like the city where there are lots of intersections, it's stoppage time at traffic lights which slows you down, more so than actually travelling slowly. Two-way streets decrease your average speed because the split-phase protected turns make you stop longer and more often at red lights. But in the second premise, it's the instantaneous speed which determines the probability of survival in a collision, and not the average speed. If I get struck by a moving car, it's the instantaneous speed at that instant which will kill me, and not the average speed over the car's entire journey. Thus, the conclusion of two-way pedestrian safety does not follow from the 2 premises, and the argument is invalid. The third claim is that two-way streets are less confusing and reduce circling trips for drivers. First, I'll point out that due to two-way conversion, there are quite a few right turns which have been prohibited to get rid of the conflicting turning movements described earlier. So instead of a few one-way pairs, you now need to keep track of nearly 20 no right turns. As for circling around a one-way system, the distance is usually just 1 or 2 blocks which ought to be covered on foot, and car drivers generally do more circling when looking for a parking spot in the first place. In fact, two-way conversion has resulted in extra travelling distance for some bus services. Because the Northbridge section of William Street is too narrow to both be two-way and carry buses, the southbound 16 and 60 buses now have to turn off William Street at Bulwer Street and go around via Beaufort Street, before returning to William Street via Wellington Street. Not only does this involve a horrible left turn at Bulwer Street with barely enough room, but the bus also has to travel an extra half a kilometre, and more importantly pass through 2 additional sets of traffic lights. In particular, these lights on Beaufort Street are the most annoying because they have split phasing. This bus I'm on right now is waiting around for nothing. The oncoming traffic has a protected right turn phase, but this phase is wasted because none of the oncoming traffic is actually turning right. In a one-way scenario, the 2 phases on Beaufort Street would be combined into a single green phase, and the bus would be moving already. Okay, enough talk about why two-way conversions are bad. What should we do about it? Well, we should revert William Street and Beaufort Street into a one-way pair, so that for starters the southbound 16 and 60 don't have to take this long and slow deviation. Instead of turning left at Bulwer Street, they would continue straight on William Street. This also means we can start using this bus stop before Brisbane Street again, which has been doing nothing since 2013. Between Brisbane Street and Newcastle Street, William Street is still one way, so this bit is easy peasy. All I'm saying for this bit is that a 24/7 bus lane should be painted onto the left lane, to be used by buses, taxis, cyclists and motorcyclists. Cars must only use the left lane for turning left or quickly doing a parallel park in one of the parking bays. A bus stop should be installed after Monger Street by replacing 4 or so parking bays with extended pavement called a bus bulb. This stop would be served by the southbound bus services from Morley and Mirrabooka, including the 6:53 event bus to Perth Stadium. At the intersection with Newcastle Street, the 653 would turn off while the other buses would continue straight ahead. William Street after Newcastle Street would be converted back to one-way, and the layout changes would be as follows. The 24/7 bus lane would continue on in the left lane while general traffic would go straight ahead or turn right from the right lane. The current parallel crosswalk pedestrian signals would be retained. This median and traffic post would be removed, so that Bayswater, Maylands and Bassendean buses coming from Newcastle Street have enough room to turn left onto William Street. Continuing on, these two parking spots just before Aberdeen Street would be filled in with a bus bulb, with these buses stopping here. The proposed layout at the intersection with Aberdeen Street is similar to the previous one. There is a left turning pocket separate from the bus lane, so that if a left turning car is giving way to pedestrians, it doesn't end up blocking buses. Also, the no right turn caused by two-way conversion would be removed. Continuing on, no need for any bus stops between Aberdeen Street and Francis Street. At Francis Street, the layout would look like this, although the ute would be parked facing the other way, and it would probably be a good idea to move the no stopping region back 2 spots. The next bus stop would be before James Street, and probably this existing pavement here is enough room for a bus stop once the construction finishes. If not, then perhaps fill in these 2 parking spots. The intersection with James Street would look like this, and again we would remove the annoying band right turn caused by two-way conversion. At the intersection with Rowe Street, the parking signs here would be replaced by no stopping signs, and the bays converted into a right turn pocket. The westbound approach on Rowe Street would be modified accordingly. This left turn band would be removed, and the left lane would be for turning left only. Altogether, the layout would look like this from the top down. Southbound buses would once again climb the Horseshoe Bridge to cross the rail line, and this bit here would be wide enough even for Arctic buses to turn comfortably. At the top of the bridge would be a bus stop, and there would be 2 options. The first is to straighten the curb and have a wider footpath as a bus stop, and the second is to have an indented bay so that buses can pull out if the bus in front is delayed. I really don't mind which. Unfortunately, since the introduction of Smart Riders, this entrance to Perth train station has been removed, so a stairwell and elevator would be installed here to allow convenient transfer to trains. Approaching Wellington Street, we would have 3 lanes, 1 for buses and 2 for general traffic. The 16 bus would make a right turn here, into Perth Busport. The left turn ban installed by Main Roads in April this year would be retained, although I'd use a worded sign to make it clearer, and install a sign back at Rowe Street which says no left turn at Wellington Street. Drivers wishing to make the left turn should instead take Beaufort Street Bridge or the new King Street extension. After Wellington Street, we'd have 1 bus lane and 2 general traffic lanes. One problem with two-way conversion is that streets become too narrow for buses and trucks to turn left into, meaning you need keep clear spaces like this. Of course, there is always some idiot who decides not to keep it clear, and this happens. On a one-way William Street, the keep clear space would be unnecessary. Likewise, at the intersection with Murray Street, we can get rid of this keep clear box, and the layout would look like this. Accordingly, the full-circuit Red Cat would have to turn off Murray Street at Milligan Street instead, and then turn right into Wellington Street. Back to William Street now, the big indented bus bay on the western side near Hay Street would be converted into a taxi stand, which would help ease the overflow problems with the current ones. Continuing past Hay Street, even more taxi space could be installed in this pocket. The bus lane would temporarily end here, because buses would move into the middle or right lanes in preparation for entering Esplanade Busport. The intersection with St George's Terrace would be like this. The problem with the current two-way layout after St George's Terrace is that all general southbound traffic needs to merge into a single lane. In the afternoon peak hour, this single lane struggles to clear out the traffic quick enough, and the current right bus lane is rendered useless by cars trying to merge left. In the proposed layout, there would be 2 traffic lanes and 1 bus lane, and the merge point would not be until further down, after the Esplanade. The layout would look like this at the Esplanade. These cars wouldn't be here, but I'll get back to this bit later. Unfortunately, thanks to Colin Barnett's great big cesspit, William Street has to be two-way south of the Esplanade, and there's nothing we can do about that. So buses would turn right onto Mounts Bay Road and then enter the busport as they do now. This covers southbound bus operation from the northeastern suburbs. What about on the way back home? Well, northbound buses would leave the busport as they do now, but of course when they get to the Esplanade they'd see no entry signs. To accommodate the 2 general southbound traffic lanes, this northbound right turn pocket would be made southbound, so that the merge point for southbound traffic is shifted forwards, from up there to down here. All buses and traffic would turn right onto the Esplanade, and from a bird's eye view the intersection layout would look like this. Northbound buses continue on the Esplanade until they get to Barrack Street, where they turn left. Barrack Street north of the Esplanade would be made one-way north again, except for a wide contraflow lane dedicated to cyclists heading south. The second northbound lane would be a 24/7 bus lane shared with cyclists. Approaching St George's Terrace, this is what the layout would look like. Again, cars turn left in a separate lane to the bus lane, so that they don't block buses when giving way to pedestrians. Looking back at the opening to the cyclist contraflow, a median would be installed so that it's too narrow for cars to enter, but wide enough for cyclists to go through comfortably. The appropriate signage would be installed on St George's Terrace westbound. After St George's Terrace, Barrack Street would consist of one northbound bus and bike lane, one general traffic lane, and one southbound cyclist contraflow. Probably it would be a good idea to relocate this cyclist counter to the opposite side for counting southbound cyclists only. At Hay Street, the layout would look like this. And again, at the opening of the contraflow, a median would be installed to stop cars from using the cyclist contraflow. The left turn from Hay Street would be banned, except for cyclists. Bus stops for northbound buses and cat buses would be reinstated along Barrack Street at the appropriate spacing. The layout at the intersection with Murray Street would be very similar to the one at Hay Street, and this is what it would look like for a cyclist taking the southbound contraflow. After Murray Street, the bus lane would end temporarily. This pickup area would be replaced by bicycle parking. The layout at the intersection with Wellington Street would be modified like so. There would be two northbound lanes with a right turn pocket, and the parallel crosswalk on the right side would be protected with a red arrow, so that cyclists can get safely from the shared path onto the contraflow lane. Again, a median would be placed here to stop cars from using the contraflow. The Red Cat and the buses going to Perth Busport would turn left here. Beaufort Street Bridge would be reverted to having three northbound lanes, with one contraflow lane for traffic heading to East Perth only. The second northbound lane would be a bus lane connecting to the proposed 24/7 bus lane on Beaufort Street. Overall, this would be the top-down layout of the intersection. Continuing to the intersection with Rowe Street, the layout would look like this, and I wouldn't mind keeping this banned right turn to make it easier for pedestrians to cross here. Looking south back at the bridge, it would appear like this. Beaufort Street would then be one way north after Rowe Street, and the second lane would be a 24/7 bus lane. The bus stop opposite the museum would be removed and replaced by parking spots to balance out all the parking we removed earlier on William Street. The point of having the bus lane on the second lane is that buses still get priority during the off-peak hours, or if some idiot decides to park in the peak hour clearway. The approach to Aberdeen Street would look like this. The approach to Newcastle Street would be similar, except that the leftmost and rightmost lanes would be for turning only, and the north leg would be narrowed from 4 lanes to 2. The southbound 41, 42, 48 and 55 buses would no longer turn left onto Beaufort Street. Instead, they'd continue straight on Newcastle Street, reusing this currently unused bus stop before turning left at William Street, where, remember, we've removed this median so that buses can actually make the turn. Back to Beaufort Street, those northbound buses turn right at Newcastle Street, while the others continue straight ahead. After Newcastle Street, the rightmost lane can be used for parking spots all day. Northbound buses headed for the northeastern suburbs will continue to use this bus stop as before. This central division would be removed and the right turn into Parry Street would no longer be banned. At all times of the day, we would have parking, bus and bike lane, general traffic lane and parking, until near Brisbane Street where Beaufort Street becomes two-way again. From the top down, the parking lane would end and the two middle lanes of Beaufort Street would bend left like this. On the ground it would look like this, and the bus lane would end on approach to Brisbane Street. Looking south from the opposite side, all traffic, including southbound buses, would turn right onto Brisbane Street, completing the anti-clockwise arc. And that's basically all that needs to be done, because Brisbane Street is still one way. When the buses reach William Street, the southbound ones turn left and the northbound ones turn right. Personally, I would install a sign reminding car drivers not to overtake turning buses, which need a bit more room when making this left turn here. In summary, this video has laid out a plan for converting William Street and Beaufort Street in the city to one-way traffic with 24/7 bus priority. The bus lanes may also be used by taxis, cyclists and motorcyclists, and a wide southbound contraflow lane for cyclists only would be retained on Barrack Street. For those of you still with me, thanks for watching.